Hello, everybody. Wanted to get started. Everybody's got a busy day.
King's there and Young.
Just wanted to, thank the members of the Senate Budget and Taxation who are serving on this work group. Senator Edwards, Senator Young, Senator Jackson, Senator King, Senator Craig Zucker, and just wanted to have an opportunity to talk about some of the bills that have already been heard in the Budget and Taxation Committee. I think there might be others that we would want to discuss later, but they just haven't had a Senate hearing yet, so we didn't want to have a hearing on those here before it was actually heard. Just to kind of lay out what today's going to look like, I'm going to try to conclude by 1:45, Budget and Taxation as voting at 2, which means that I need to stick to my own rule of being quiet and being short, right? Bottom line is we're going to have Matthew Bennett kick us off. He's going to go through some of the 4 pieces of legislation that we're going to be discussing. And then what I'll probably do is have Mr. Butler come up, and obviously I'll answer we'll have any questions to Mr. Bennett that committee members have. But then we'll have Mr. Butler come up from Lottery just to give us additional information. And then I think you all remember pre-COVID, I had you all around the horseshoe, but since we're still trying to be somewhat sensitive, if there's anyone that wants to add anything, please come up and feel free to offer some thoughts. Today, I just view it as an opportunity to sort of deliberate and get an idea of sort of what's out there, collect information, and then hopefully make a decision sometime soon, not today, but sometime soon on where we're at. So with that, Mr. Bennett, why don't we walk us through the 4 pieces of legislation, and then we can answer any questions that the committee members have. Mr. Bennett.
All right, thank you, Senator Zucker. The first bill that you should have in front of you, and we've printed off the bills, the fiscal note, and then all the testimony that was submitted at the bill hearing, so those should all be somewhere on your desk. And the first bill is Senate Bill 155. Senate Bill 155, that's the instant ticket lottery machine expansion. This bill would expand the instant ticket lottery machine program to the to the fraternal organizations. The program's been around since I think 2012 when these machines were placed in the veterans halls, and it's only, if you look on page 3 of the bill, it's really only the Western Shore counties. The Eastern Shore counties have a different variation over there. But these are, the fraternal organizations would then get what the veterans organizations have had since 2012. And so I think the bill's been in a couple years, so I think the committee should be familiar with it. And this is Senator Young's bill. I will keep moving.
Keep moving. Senator Young, is that anything you need to add to that? We're just keep moving. Okay.
Yeah, just the top 10% is going to hope for all the centers.
Okay.
Right, yes. There's I think it's about a 50-50 split with 10% also going to the Veterans Trust Fund.
And off the top for the veterans and then 50-50 on the rest.
Right.
Okay. And I would just remind, it's going to be casual, but I do need you to turn on your mic if you're gonna speak.
So the next bill is Senate Bill 647. 647's actually a local bill to Frederick County. This one's dealing with electronic tip jar machines, and this would authorize anybody who's authorized to have tip jars games in Frederick County to use electronic distribution. I think this one's a little bit different than the rest of them in that there isn't a cabinet or a video display with this one. I think this really is just these almost like a cigarette dispenser, when we used to have those. But it's just a mechanism on the wall that spits out these kind of tickets for so that nobody has to walk them around. And that's how the bill was explained to me. So that's what Senate Bill 647 does, is authorizes those. Senate Bill 796, this one would repeal the requirement to do the print-on-the-fly tickets for the ITML program. So the instant ticket lottery machines have to have a ticket that gets spit out to represent each play. This would allow the lottery, when it puts that contract out, to consider other types of machines. I believe they're called Class 2 bingo machines, and it's just a different version of basically the same thing. It just recognizes that you don't actually have to have the piece of paper anymore. You can accomplish the same thing through a computer program that then will give you the results. If that makes sense to everybody. And then the last bill, this one's Senate Bill 858. This one would expand the number of machines the number of electronic bingo machines that certain entities in the state are allowed to have. The number of machines was capped on February 28th, 2008, and that cap has been in place since then. In addition to the bill materials, there should be a chart or a document that has lottery's logo at the top of it, and that'll show you where all the machines are in the state. It's really two counties, Arundel County and Calvary County. And I should note that there was a bit of maybe a drafting error in there, in that I don't think the advocates who brought this bill forward intended to ever allow the charitable organizations, the Moose Lodge, the Elks Lodge, the American Legions, to go up to 200. I think this bill's really, when you look at the chart that we have on the bingo halls, we're dealing with the commercial facilities, so like the Delta Bingos and the Abners and the other commercial facilities. So when you're thinking about this bill, I think we've seen a technical amendment that would take care of making sure that the charitable guys aren't going up to 199 machines.
Great. Well, thank you, Matt, for that. So I think I've been getting some text messages and emails. I'm not sure if we're going to have another work group. It just depends on timing. So what I would say is, if there's anything, I don't want to have another public hearing here, but if there's anything else that you think would be important for our deliberation purposes, it would be helpful. But Mr. Butler, why don't you come on up, and really, we want to get a sense from you, sort of what your sense is on the, first, anything you want to add, and then, really what would help us, anything you want to offer that would help us in our own deliberation. So why don't you go ahead and tell us what you're thinking, and then the committee, if we have any questions, we can follow up. Welcome.
I've got it. Maybe.
Good afternoon, Senator Zucker and members of the work group. James Butler from the Maryland Lottery and Gaming Agency. Well, I'd just like to start off, Matt did a wonderful job with covering the basics of the bill. The one thing that the lottery is concerned about is this thing that we've all talked about, is the expansion of commercial gaming. So I took a look at Maryland's Constitution to find out if there is a provision in there for this expansion of expansion of gaming and expansion of commercial gaming. So what I found out is that when examining the Constitution dealing with video lottery terminals to determine the scope of expansion of commercial gaming, it states that this article does not apply to lotteries, horse racing, and gaming conducted under Title 12 and Title 13. So under the video lottery program, if the legislature wanted to expand the number of VLTs, it would need to go for a referendum for that type of expansion, as well as an expansion of regular commercial gaming. So there is that caveat that the constitutional provision dealing with it does not apply, again, to lotteries, horse racing, or Title 12 and Title 13 of the gaming law. So that's important when it comes to this whole notion of expanding these other games. Our biggest concern, so we'll cover Senator Young's bill, Senate Bill 155. We've gone through that with Senator Young. I think we've have a basic meeting of the minds there. We understand what he's planning to do there. Unlike the ITLM bill, where for the veterans, the 10% comes out of the lottery share, this 10% is going to come off the top, and it will go to DHCD for this special fund. So The lottery has a 50-50 split with the veterans organizations. Here, it's going to be a 45-45 split because that 10% is going to come off the top. So we can understand that. We also understand that if there are multiple vendors, our concern there, having multiple vendors, we don't have a central system. We have one operator who operates the central system, so having multiple vendors could be problematic for the agency. As long as we issue the solicitation, it's open to everyone. We will probably select one vendor there. We shouldn't have a problem. Now, with this, also with Senator Young's bill, we don't know the number of fraternal organizations. That's still out in the open. It could be 100, 200, but that shouldn't be a problem there. It's whether this bill is going to get expanded to other organizations. From what we've been hearing, there is possibly an amendment to allow other types of organizations to participate besides fraternal. That would be problematic because we would need other people to assist us. We have one person who's handling this, so we need additional staff at the lottery if this were to expand beyond the fraternal organizations. Unlike the video lottery program, the agency does not receive a 1% share for its administrative fees. So that's something else that the committee, I want the committee to consider. That would take care of any administrative costs there. Senate Bill 647, I spoke to one of the proponents of this bill. I understand that the cross-file is being amended. In the original bill on the House side, it had the agency regulating this. On the Senate side, it has Frederick County Commissioners. As long as it stays with the Frederick County Commissioners, that shouldn't be a problem. Our concern there, again, is this whole notion of expansion of commercial gaming. We have our lottery products, the casinos have casino gaming. If there's going to be any potential impact on those, because those are revenues coming back to the state in the form of profit from both of those programs. With respect to...
So for Senate Bill 647, you said that the House was amending their bill. Is it amended and moving at this point?
No, not
Okay.
at this point.
Go ahead, go ahead.
No problem. Senate Bill 796, the instant ticket lottery machines. This is the repeal of the pre-printed ticket requirement. Our concern there is, just like the Constitution laid out Title IX under state government article for lottery, horse racing, and specifically Title 12 and 13 for other forms of gaming, when you take away that particular provision, turning this gaming product into a lottery product, there could be a problem, because now you're moving what is essentially a game in Title 12 into a Title IX under state government article. So that's our biggest concern, is that this would no longer be a lottery product if the repeal happens. So we would recommend continuing the current language as it is. That way it continues to be a lottery product and not any other form of gaming. And with respect to Senate Bill 858, this deals with the expansion of the gaming machines in Arundel and Calvary County. There, again, our argument is the same. It's just whether there's going to be any potential impact on the agency. Again, there we don't receive that 1% administrative cost, so expanding this program to allow up to 300 additional machines could have an effect on us, because we would need additional staff to manage that. So we would like for the work group to consider possibly putting in that 1% for both of these programs if, in fact, they're going to be expanded. I think that basically covers it. It's the overall impact of these bills on the agency and our lottery revenue and on the casino revenue. Are there any questions?
So what kind of impact would this have on revenues?
That's just it. No one's sure. No one's sure what this is going to. We don't know the revenue that comes from the Coward Hall and Anne Arundel County gaming machines, that's between the county, the entity, and their distributors and manufacturers of those machines. We don't, the state, the lottery, does not get involved in that. We only oversee the operations of the program. So we don't know the potential impact there on gaming revenues or on lottery. It's whether this is going to create other mini casinos, if you will, because now they're going to be expanding beyond their statutory authorization that was done back in 2012, 13, I think, that imposed that they had to stay at what they were at during that particular time. Now, adding 300 on top of that, it's just whether that's going to have an impact on, especially on the gaming side.
Does anyone have any? Oh, Senator King. Yeah, please.
Thank you. I'm thinking about the problem gambler that can voluntarily get on a list to not be allowed into places that have gambling. Would there be such a thing set up for all these little places that would be opening up to gaming?
So there is a voluntary exclusion program that we set up for lottery, that we set up for the casinos, as well as the bingo halls. So they do have an existing program for that. There's no such program for the other bill dealing with Frederick County because, again, we don't regulate that form of it, but there is an existing program for the bingo halls.
Any other questions? Okay, and thank you, Mr. Butler, for all your help this past year with, I know you and I were talking quite a bit on sports betting, so.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I will provide written comments later to the work group.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. So what I'd like to do is, since we have a little bit of time, just offer to anyone that is out there that if you want to come up and offer any thoughts or I know you're starting to trample over each other, so be careful coming up. But all right, well, good. Well, come on up, Sushant. Yep. Hey, Aaron.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the work group. Sushant Sid here on behalf of Delta Bingo. I just wanted to bring up a couple of points about Mr. Butler's testimony on 796, the ITLM program. He had, I think, characterized it as might being a expansion of gaming, which would require a referendum, constitutional referendum. So this program was created by an act of the General Assembly, creating a lottery product in 2012, okay? So at that time, the General Assembly created the program, did not constitute a expansion of gaming, did not require referendum. A couple of years ago, with respect to electronic bingo machines, right? So we have the Class 2 bingo machines, which pre-printed, predetermined paper, and then we've got the print-on-the-fly machines, which this bill effectively would say that the ITLM program could upgrade depending upon what the lottery does. It is all subject to the lottery issuing an RFP with, the flexibility to select the vendor that they want. With respect to electronic bingo, a couple of years ago, they actually allowed bingo halls to switch out from pre-printed paper to print on the fly. At that time, that was a lottery decision done by regulation, and at that time, it did not constitute an expansion of gaming. So, a product that the lottery oversees did not constitute an expansion of gaming, so we don't believe, in this case, changing of a lottery product to something that is already in the marketplace would not constitute an expansion in gaming. Do you want to take over?
You want me to?
Yeah,
just
beat by beat.
Yeah, and with regard to, the other one, 858, and potential impact on the agency, it's an existing program. An additional number of machines isn't really reason to require additional staff at the lottery. It's already an existing program that's in operation, has been. We're not talking about additional licenses being granted. You have the same number of licensees, and it would just be, again, to allow for a limited number of of machines for existing licensees.
And we believe the additional revenue should cover any staff costs as well.
Thank you. Any question? I know, again, I know this isn't a public hearing. This is just if any committee members need any other input. Okay. Thank you both.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Anybody else want to? Yeah, Mr. Evans, come on up. Welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
If you'd raise your right hand, no, keep going.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, members, and thank you, Chairman Gazone, for putting the bill in. We would like to be part of the bill. We believe the bingo industry should stick together. We're in this together. We all took a massive hit when the casinos, which we didn't oppose, by the way. We've been here long before the casinos. We wish them well and that they continue to prosper. But we'd like to survive, too, particularly Bingo World. Randy's worked there his whole life, and, of course, Rod and Reel and Chesapeake Beach. And just a little trip down memory lane, if you don't mind. There wouldn't be an instant bingo industry in Maryland but for Chesapeake Beach, but for the Rod and Reel. It was the case, Chesapeake Amusements versus Riddle, challenging a state's attorney in a circuit court case in Calvary, went all the way to the Court of Appeals, which said, no, instant bingo is not slot machines. And this caused the flourishment of the whole industry. So just in terms of what we'd like to be included in the bill, whatever numbers, if you should decide, of course, we'll leave to your good discretion. But we'd also like to be considered, we talked about the kind of genesis of this game of bingo, and we use pull tabs continually in we have a game every day. Randy said 363 days, 3 days a year. And the folks, when they're playing the live game, they also get these bingo tabs, and I brought some for you, and they just kind of open them up, and it's an instant game. And we rather than having people run around and sell these, and rather than filling our landfill full of paper, we just like to be able to offer these on a screen, and Randy has a tablet with him that he can show the committee if you'd like to see it. So if we're going to, kind of make progressions in the game, we'd like people to be able to do this on a screen that's, again, regulated by the lottery, and it's simply an electronic pull tab game rather than using the paper and throwing them in the trash. So that's all I have. Be happy to answer any questions anyone has, and Randy has a thought or two, if you don't mind, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, go ahead, Randy.
Yeah,
Good to see you. Welcome.
Randy Clemens from Bingo World, Baltimore, well, actually in Arundel County. I've worked at Bingo World since I was 18, graduated from high school, worked there while I was going to college, got married, wanted a new car, kids, wanted your wife to stay home, but anyway. I now own I own 30% of the bingo hall, so it wasn't gifted to me. I sort of basically an American dream. I worked hard, and now I've left something, I have something for myself and for my kids and for my grandkids. Just wanted to point out a few things that when you talk about commercial bingo hall, I was looking at the paperwork that's here, that there's an opposition to us getting additional machines. Bingo World complies with the voluntary exclusion program. All of our staff members on a yearly basis take a training course to help us spot and identify problem gambling. We sign up people. We constantly refer people to get the help that they need. I mean, somebody hurting themselves doesn't help anybody in the gaming industry. So we're very cognizant of that, and we are an active participant in this program. Also, with the commercial bingo hall, I read here that, granted, we're not one of the big casinos, and it says that they pay an effective tax rate of 41%. Well, it gets lost. So does the commercial bingo hall. We pay 25% to the state, 10% to the county, and then on top of that, we pay an additional 6% sales tax, because when we sell a bingo card or a bingo ticket, we sell it for $1. So we can't say, here's your dollar ticket, now we need $1.06. It's just so cumbersome. So that 6% also comes out of our end. So when you add it all together, it comes to the same 41% that the casinos pay. And I think sometimes it gets overlooked that little old Bingo World, pays millions of dollars a year as well to the state and to the county.
Thank you. Jerry, did you have any? We have some questions. I didn't know if there's anything you want to add, but go ahead, Senator Jackson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It's actually not a question, it's a statement. We're waiting on a bill to come out of rules that the Chair Gazzoni and I have spoken about regarding, in this case, it would be the Calvary County pieces. I think we're going to talk about that in conjunction with, it'll be, if we get it out of rules, Senate Bill 995, and we'll look at how we can work that together, if at all, with 858. So just to put that on Mr. Bennett's radar screen. So, thank you. Good seeing you all.
Sounds good. Thanks, Senator Jackson. Any other questions or, great. We appreciate you both. Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you. Chair, members of the work group, my name is Carrie Watson. I'm Regional Vice President for Government Affairs for MGM Resorts International. First, I would like to offer that I am entirely in support of the bill coming over from the House that would deal with daylight savings time. Secondly, when these bills first were introduced, I actually had some problems because despite being in this industry for over 5 years now, I really wasn't sure what an ITLM or a electronic bingo machine was. So because I'm a big spender, I took my wife on a date Friday night, and we went to Bingo World, Delta Bingo, and to the Ride and Reel. And we lost $60, so that was good for the state. However, what I realized very quickly is when you walk up to one of these machines, it looks, smells, tastes, feels like a slot machine. And I know we categorize them as, other things, ITLM, electronic bingo, but I can assure you that when you stick your $20 bill in there and the electronic thing starts spinning, it feels exactly like a VLT or a slot machine. So it drew the question in my mind about, casinos are highly regulated. I would argue that we might be the most highly regulated industry in the state. And when you walk into a casino, and I'll use MGM National Harbor as an example, when you walk in, you have to go through a security checkpoint. And if you look under 35, they check your ID to make sure that you're of age to actually hit the casino floor. And if we don't, if you are under 21, we are fined significantly. Is it what, $450 a person or something like that? Yeah, about $500 a person. For every person under 21, we have employees of the MLGCA on our floor 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. There's not a moment that we are open that there's not someone, actually, even when we were closed, we had individuals from MLGCA working on our casino floors to ensure that no one gets on the floor. To add to that, Senator King asked a really good question about responsible gaming. Our company spends millions of dollars on responsible gaming throughout the country. It is critical for our success. Even when we testify on whether it's sports betting or casino gaming, anywhere in the country, we always say 21 and over, even when the bills say 18, because we think it's a great way to ensure that people whose brains are fully matured, even though we can make an argument about 21, I have 2 of them now, but we don't get them involved in gaming too early. And these bingo halls, in particular, I would suggest that there was no one checking as you walked in the door. Obviously, I'm not 21 or 18, but there was no employees actually checking at either location. And I understand why. It's hard. It's expensive. It requires a lot of staff, and even staff that Mr. Butler testified that he didn't have at the MLGCA. So, for us to, I think that the legislature, I would suggest that the legislature needs to be very, very thoughtful about that issue, because it is very, very important to the gaming industry. And as a casino operator in this state, we cannot be associated, especially when the machines look so much like slot machines, with the appearance that we are recruiting underage individuals to come and game on our casino floors. The other issue that Mr. Butler brought in was the idea of the impact on the casinos in the state of Maryland. And he answered properly, I would say, we don't know. We don't know whether this, I mean, and there's a significant number of bills in front of you right now, and we don't know what the total impact on the Maryland Education Trust Fund or the Blueprint for Maryland's future might be. And I think, you know, considering how much that we provide to it, we would love to be part of any conversation that goes forward about the impact on our business and on education. And I'm available for questions.
Thank you. I will say that, you know, this summer I went for lunch at a casino. I didn't do gaming, but I went for lunch and I got carded. And if you see me smiling today, it's because I still remember being carded. So you're right. Mr. Johansson, good to see you. Go ahead.
Thank you.
Senator King, is it about me getting carded or, go ahead.
Yeah, I was amazed at that. And the other thing that impresses me at the casinos right now is that if you walk in with a mask on, the security makes you pull your mask down so they can see your face, so they can know who's coming in.
It is very important. Thank you for that, and it is very, very important to us.
So thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mike Johansson on behalf of Horseshoe Casino in Baltimore City. One reason for the mask is perhaps a little facial recognition to make sure that you're not on the exclusion list. It's a bill that's being considered in committee. If it makes it out the floor, we might need some help on an amendment. But it's serious, the security issues that casinos go through. I did hear some of the proponents talk about additional machines, additional revenues. This is an expansion of gaming. It may not be prohibited under the Constitution. I think that's kind of a question that could be considered. But when the initial casino law was passed in 2007, which required a constitutional amendment and then a vote, it limited the number of locations to 6, limited the number of machines to roughly 15,000, and said if you want to do any more than that, you have to come back for a statewide vote. So that did happen with respect to the addition of a 7th location at beautiful National Harbor, and then it happened the same year with respect to table games. The question then, when you talk about the language that's referenced by the individuals related to the paper tickets, in 2008, after the General Assembly had passed their gaming platform, this is how we want to have commercial gaming, they then limited the expansion of some of the other gaming, such as by limiting the number of machines that were in existence as of a certain date, and basically developing this paper ticket standard. So it was a coordinated decision. This is an expansion. It's an expansion, in a sense, without some of the consideration of expansion that we had with sports wagering, where I believe some members of this committee are still engaged in how to expand to those 47 retail locations and those mobile licenses, and what it means if you're going to take an industry and expand it, well, then who can participate? What I'm hearing from the proponents is they can certainly participate, but it's jumping over that other discussion with respect to sports wagering, with respect to how should you expand gaming. If you do, what are the consequences and what are the impacts? I'm glad you went to Delta Bingo. It's right across the street from Laurel Park Racetrack. It is right across the street. That's also a gaming establishment. So when you consider whether it impacts the casinos, does it impact traditional lottery? Does it impact bars and taverns that are selling Keno tickets and other games? There's impacts, and the fiscal note simply said, well, we can't figure it out. But if you add all these bills together, I think it's easy to assume there's going to be an impact on the other gaming and wagering places. Bingo World is an interesting place. I grew up in Anne Arundel County. It's been around a long time. I appreciate the gentleman who spoke. It's less than 5 miles from Horseshoe Casino in Baltimore City. They have, I believe, 200, look-alike slot machines today. They have a sports wagering license. That's fine. That's a decision that this committee and the whole body made. But to think that expansion of those types of venues won't have a further impact on other existing establishments, I just think kind of is, making it sound too good to be true. So we would express caution, and I think if there was a way to actually dig into collectively all these little expansions and how they actually impact the state's revenues that are dedicated to the Education Trust Fund, we think that would be a better approach.
Thank you very much. See any questions? Appreciate it. Thanks, gentlemen. Anybody else want to come up and give us your thoughts? Okay.
Again, James Butler on behalf of the Maryland Lottery and Gaming Agency. I just need to rebut something that was said earlier. I think it was regarding Senate Bill 796 and what the lottery did with respect to a regulatory action. So there are two bingo hall six bingo halls, 2 counties, Anne Arundel and Calvary County. Anne Arundel was operating on the pre-printed tickets that were dealt and they dropped the paper. In Calvary County, they were dealing on what was called print on the fly, still dropped the paper. What the agency did there, again, a regulatory decision, was to bring parity to the 2 jurisdictions. We allowed Anne Arundel County operators to use print on the fly as they were doing in print on the fly in Calvert County. That's the only thing that we did with respect to what was said. So we didn't allow lottery to go there. It was just expanding, or excuse me, allowing parity between those 2 jurisdictions. So it wasn't dealing with lottery at all. The second point is the state does not receive any revenue from the bingo halls, the lottery and the state. There are tax consequences, yes, and that was expressed, but we don't sit down each month and give the public a revenue projection or revenues from these particular operators. That's done between themselves and the local jurisdiction. So again, the state does not have any role in the revenue piece between those bingo halls. That's all.
Does anybody have any questions? All right.
Thank you.
And I know that what I would suggest is, obviously I did want to have a conversation, but instead of having everyone come back and forth and, just, if you want to submit anything to us in writing or follow up with us offline, that's also fine. We're not not doing anything today, so we have a little bit of time, but not too much time. Senator Young.
Wanted to amplify or explain a couple things that have been said. My bill for Frederick County, what it's asking to do is similar to what Mr. Evans spoke about in the halls. Right now, people walk around with those tabs and sell them. The only thing they're asking for differently is to have that done electronically where the person gets up and goes to the machine and gets them. And it lets the help do other things. In our case, in the clubs that have them, the bartenders, the waitresses are going back and forth between waiting on customers and selling tickets. This would just let them concentrate on their job and get the ticket from a machine. It doesn't change. There's still a limited number of tickets. The payout are the same as they are now. It is basically the same game that they're already doing. It's just done out of a machine instead of handed out. And Frederick County regulates those right now. Actually, they have a couple machines in. There's a dispute as whether they're legal or not. All we're asking in this bill is to make it legal, so there's no doubt, but it really doesn't change anything. The ITLM machines, yeah, I'd have to say they do look like a slot machine. One of the differences, again, is there's a predetermined payout. When you're playing, it's still luck whether you hit the ticket when it comes up, but there's a predetermined amount. In the casinos, it's supposed to be more a chance, though I know they regulate a percentage, so it's done differently. The papers, if they can be eliminated, are a mess. They clog the machines. Somebody has to come over when it clogs, and they cut off about that many. The jackpot might be in the one they cut off and throw away. So it is a problem. I mean, I think the ones in the veterans clubs, they'll live with them, but it would be nice if they didn't have to. As far as the other bill with the 5 in the fraternal clubs, they would be the same type of machines. They're all membership clubs. You can't come in and play unless you're a member. And I know from experience at the American Legion, you know, people come in and play that, and then on the weekend, they get in the car and drive up to Rocky Gap or down to Live. They're the two they would go to from Frederick if they stay in Maryland. Actually, most of them go to West Virginia because it's closer. So if we take money from anything in these small clubs, it's probably from West Virginia up our way. But they're very minor. It's rare you'll go in and see all 5 of them being played at one time. And it's a membership thing. You can't walk in off the street if you're not a member, and they watch them carefully. But I just wanted to lay out those similarities and differences.
Well, thank you. Any other questions or comments, quite frankly? All right, I'm going to do last call if anyone has anything to add out there. Okay. So, Matt, my thought is that, you know, the committee can deliberate over the next day or so, and then, you know, just stay tuned. We'll keep you posted as, you know, I'd like to try to have, we'll have another transparent and open process on this, but this was really something that Chair Gazzoni wanted to make sure we pulled together, and, you know, we're going to have, as Senator Jackson pointed out, there's other pieces of legislation that might be coming out of other committees and rules that we might have a public hearing on, that we might have a follow-up work group on. But with that, appreciate everybody's time. Great to see everybody in person, and stay tuned. Thank you.